Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our Whole Building Airtightness program informational webinar. Today, we're going to be taking a look at both the training course that we put together along with the certification program that just launched. Just a couple housekeeping things before we get started. So I'm going to be your presenter here. So I'm Ryan Dalglish, the Chief Operating Officer of ABA. I've been involved with the association since it started back in 2001 and was involved in both the development of the curriculum along with putting together the policies, procedures, processes for the certification program, including the ISO 17024 compliance standard that we made sure that this was developed in. So during the presentation, we're going to have everyone on mute. That's just to kind of help with background noise, but you will have an opportunity to ask any questions. So on your GoToWebinar console, you'll see a box that says questions. Simply write them in. I'll try to get through as many as I can. We'll handle those at the end of the presentation. So if you don't think of something, or maybe there's something that rings a bell afterwards, just be sure to reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to walk you through there. Now, a copy of this presentation is available for download in the Handouts section. So in your GoToWebinar console, you'll see something that says Handouts. In there, there's going to be two handouts, one of this presentation and then one of the certification handbook, which gets into all the details of the certification program in regards to what is it, pre-qualifications, how to get certified, how to maintain certification, and so forth. So that becomes kind of the main document that you want to reference in finding out, hey, what do I need to do to become certified? So if you do have any issues downloading either of those, just let us know. We can make sure to email you a copy. And these things will be available on our website a little bit later after the presentation. So two specific things that we're going to look at, the blower door training. So blower door training's been out in the market since 2022. There's been a number of training programs that we've run out of the state of Washington. And so that's what we're going to kind of focus on, is just introducing you to what is it, what to expect, what is the curriculum, and so forth. After we're done that, then we're going to shift into taking a look at the blower door certification. So this is the part that is just launching right now and is available for people to take the certification program. Part of that is ABA training is not a requirement of it, it's one option. So we'll take a look at the training, but just know that ABA training itself is not a specific requirement. In the certification program, it does offer you other options or paths to get certification. So to get the ball going, let's just take a look at our whole building airtightness blower door training. So this course is done over a period of 5 years, or not 5 years, 5 days. That'd be really long if it was 5 years. And so far, we've been running it out of the South Seattle Community College. We did a lot of work with the state of Washington to kind of bring things together in regards to both the training and certification program. So as part of that, we kind of started with the delivery of the curriculum in the training in that area. Why did we start in the state of Washington? Well, they have had whole building airtightness requirements in their code for quite some time. But recently it went from a, hey, you should test and hopefully you get a performance number, to, hey, you actually need to meet these numbers to get occupancy. So it went from, hey, this is great, we're doing some testing, to now we're going to do testing and we're going to make sure that we're performing these things. So we've worked probably directly with the state of Washington, I want to say, for coming up on 4 years. In regards to code development, and then helping to meet the industry needs locally, to kind of build that infrastructure of qualified individuals to meet some of those code requirements. Now, that's not to say the state of Washington's the only place that does it. It's being done all over the place, but that's just kind of where we started. That was kind of the, kind of main priority for us to get into. So over the 5 days, think of it as really going from A to Z. And when I say A to Z, it's going to get into absolutely everything you need to know in regards to understanding whole building airtightness testing on large buildings. So this has really been developed around larger buildings, so not residential, not single family homes. Training and certification for that has been out for quite some time. This is really focused on large buildings, right? So hospitals, schools, commercial office buildings, whatever the case may be. And we've based it around really the most current and up-to-date standards for test methods in regards to this. So some of the things that you're going to go through is understanding that reasoning. So that's where you're getting in kind of to, why is it becoming a code requirement? What are some of the benefits of it? We're going to get into project specifications and requirements. So what are we seeing in regards to project specifications? Regional and industry standards. So that's where we take a look at all those different test methods from various countries and all over the board in regards to maybe what the code requires and some new ones coming out. We'll get into some of the commissioning side of things and some of the construction site requirements. So this becomes more of a kind of a knowledge base of just understanding what's out there in regards to preparing you to, even understand why would I do a whole building airtightness test in the first place. Now, you can't do whole building airtightness test without building science. So of course, there's going to be a module about building science in there. We'll get into the types of blower door testing and preparation. Really, preparation is a large part of coming up with a plan, making sure that we're preparing to fully execute the test. And then obviously at the end, we're going to actually conduct the test. So we're going to start from that knowledge base of here's what I need to know across the board. And now we're getting into understanding equipment, understanding plans and preparation, undertaking, how to determine envelope area and those test boundaries and so forth. So over that kind of period of 5 days, we're going and kind of touching all these things as we go through the program. And at the end, we have to understand how to determine the results and then obviously write a report in accordance with whatever test standard that we used. So the way that we structured over these 5 days is we kind of have 2 days that's that conceptual learning. So that's going through the building science, the standards, the different test methods, the reasons why we're going to do it. We'll get into, some of the equipment and some of those things. So we're kind of getting into basics. After that, we're now transitioning into 2 days of hands-on training. And this is obviously what the students like the most. We've got that classroom. Now we're transitioning more over to a workshop. So here's just some pictures of the workshop at the South Seattle Community College. We have some mock-ups built. We have all the testing equipment from both blower door manufacturers. So now we get to start to play around more on a small scale to understand how these things kind of work, some of the challenges with testing, some of the conditions that we might have and so forth. So it's allowing us to do it kind of in a safe and controlled environment and really get our feet wet and understanding here's how we do the test. Now at the end of this day, so this is on day 5, we actually get to perform a test on an actual building on the campus of South Seattle Community College. So this is a large building. It's got a number of conditions, different facades, mechanical systems, electrical systems, and so forth. So this is the kind of where the rubber hits the road in regards to, we're going to apply all the knowledge we've learned and all the case studies we went through and all the equipment that we played with and so forth and go and actually implement the test. So this is a good way to kind of like you're validating everything that you've done, putting it in a real life situation versus just kind of conceptual or on small mock-ups. So this has been pretty cool for us to be able to do, probably the most favorite day for the students because they're now applying everything that they've learned and putting them into a chance to obviously be very successful. So as part of the training, we've gone and developed a training manual. And so we've spent a tremendous amount of time putting together a very well articulated and well put together training manual to support the training program that you would attend. So this gives you a little bit of the flow in regards to the modules and how, kind of the student experience would be. And we go through about 11 modules. So you can see module, kind of 2 and 3, we're getting into air leakage overview, why we're doing testing, getting into the equipment. And then we start getting into some more of the details, like what is the test approach we're going to take? What are compliance factors? Planning the test, preparing the test, which is a big part of it. It takes more effort and time to do the planning and preparing, and then actually performing the test. So this gives you a bit of a flavor of the flow that you're going to go through. And this manual is great for students to follow along, but even more importantly, to have a good resource after the training, right? It's 5 days intense training. We're not going to remember everything, but we'll have that ability to go back and review that training manual. So it ends up being 2 volumes. We have volume 1, which is about 318 pages, so you can understand that it is a very substantial manual. And within there, we're going to have different things to help students. So there'll be activities, there'll be concept checking questions, there'll be some self-study things. So again, this is really meant to provide the information for people to work together to figure out some of the activities, and then make sure that they are checking what they've learned and have a good understanding of it. So super proud of this training manual that's been put together. Nothing but great feedback on the quality of it, the way it's laid out, and how it really is going to provide that. Now, if we go into volume 2, because this is 2 volumes, so we looked at volume 1. Volume 2, close to 90 pages, and what this does, it gets into some very specific case studies. So again, we're looking at case studies based on larger buildings. So we have different types of facades, we have different types of stories, some different complexities to it. And this is going through, hey, here's how we actually did testing on these buildings. And you can kind of see that we get into both coming up with testing plans based on different types of equipment, right? So this is reviewing all different types of equipment. It isn't just one manufacturer or another, it's all manufacturers. So here's just an example. We have a set of architectural drawings. We're determining, the airtightness boundary. We're going, where are we going to put our tubes? Where are we going to do this? Where are we going to do that? So this, again, helps bring kind of that knowledge that we've done and really starts to bring it home as we can kind of work through some of these real life case studies. So over 3 classes, we've really had some good feedback from our students. And as we've gone through it, we've done improvements and improvements and improvements over the last year and a half to really take that student feedback that we're getting and making sure that we're meeting their needs. So all the students, we obviously assess them after they've gone through, very, very positive in regards to how it's helped them. We've had people that are, say, newer to the industry or maybe have only been working in single family homes and just putting their feet in the water in regards to large building. And then we've had a number of individuals that are very, very experienced go through the training too. So it isn't necessarily this is a new entrant. Even people that have been doing testing for a number of years, right? We're going and reinforcing what they know, but also bringing them up to speed with some of the training programs and new test standards that are out there. Now, with all the test standards out there, we've kind of really focused a lot of it on the most current ones. So ASTM 3158, that is now in the codes, to me is and this is just Ryan speaking, is the most complete testing standard for whole building airtightness testing. It's gone through about probably 12 years of development that started as, a test protocol with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and then the association worked on it through, I think, 2 years, met every Monday for a number of hours, got it to the point where it was good, and then proposed it to ASTM. So because it's gone through such an extensive review and updating, we've kind of based the curriculum around that. Now, that doesn't say other test standards we're going to review all the test standards, but we are really preparing people for the most, I guess, comprehensive test standard out there. Now, when do we do training? Well, we're coming up with a couple courses in the fall. So we have September 11th to 15th and then December 11th, 15th. These are going to be in South Seattle Community College again. Now, we keep the attendee ratio fairly low. So we have a class size of 12 individuals, and typically we'll have two main students, two main instructors, and then a number of supporting instructors from the equipment manufacturers. So you have a ratio of student to instructor or subject matter expert at almost a 1-to-2 ratio. So one subject matter expert to two students. So this really allows people to really get their hands dirty, get into it with that sort of small, intimate class. Now, some of the questions come up saying, well, Ryan, state of Washington, that's far away. I want to, are you doing something in the South? Are you doing something in the Northeast? And so that's been kind of a mandate put to us by our membership, is let's start to set up some other locations. So ABA's long-term goal, or at least now, is that we will be working with institutions or other places in regards to offering this training in various different areas across the United States and potentially even other countries. So two places that we're working with now is both Penn State, so something out of the state of Pennsylvania, and Syracuse University, which is kind of upper New York. So we're going to have a couple locations coming online. We're working with them right now to, again, provide an East Coast location to maybe make it a little bit easier to travel to, a little bit more convenient. We do have that sort of large concentration of population in that Northeast area. Lots of things going on in some of those states too, in regards to whole building airtightness locations. So this is where we're standing now. We're hoping to get them set up as quickly as we can, sometime in the fall of this year, maybe closing in on winter, just to see. It actually is a tremendous amount of effort to put together the facility, all the equipment, building the mock-ups, finding buildings to test that are real life. So it's not as easy as just booking a hotel or something. So it does take a little bit of time for us to get some of those things together. So coming up shortly for those that are kind of on the East Coast, that maybe it will be a little bit more convenient for them. So what's the price? So the 5-day course for members, $2,500, for non-members, $2,850. So it ends up being about a $500 per day. As part of that, you do get that printed manual. You do get a PDF version of the manual, and just a really, really good experience, no matter kind of what level you're at. So here's just some class pictures. We've had 4 courses, and you can kind of see some of the different pictures of the students. We've had people really coming from all over the world. We have had people from South Korea, from Canada, from Europe, from the Middle East, really all over the world coming, which has been really, really cool to see. And those students bringing kind of their expertise or what they've seen in the other countries. So a good amount of people have gone through these courses, and we're looking at setting up each facility to probably do about 4 courses a year, and a lot of it's going to be, depending on demand and so forth. As things ramp up, we'll build more infrastructure. We'll continue to allow more opportunities to take the training. Now, as part of this, we did a short little video in regards to the first course that we put together that kind of gives you a bit of a flavor of what it's going to look like. So hopefully this is going to work in regards to sound. Sometimes we have some challenges with sound here, so just give me 1 second. And I'm just going to bring this up. I'm going to turn up the volume just a little bit here to make it a little bit louder and make sure that it's okay. So switch back here. All right, and we will have this, we do have a number of videos on the ABA website too that will provide this same video if we're finding that sound isn't working the best. So let's just get this going here.
Having a good quality training and certification process. process has been absent. It's great to see the folks at ABBA stepping up, getting talented trainers across the country to step up and become involved and help people out.
We were able to bring the industry together to determine what is the job of the tester, what needs to be done for training, what needs to be done for certification. And
Hey everyone, just bear with me 1 second here. We seem to be having a bit of a problem with the video, so I'm going to try one more time. And if it doesn't work, we'll kind of get moving on here. So just bear with me here. We'll give it another shot. Hopefully you're hearing the sound, and then we'll get going into the certification side of things.
Having a good quality training and certification process has been absent. It's great to see the folks at ABBA stepping up, getting talented trainers across the country to step up and become involved and help people out.
we were able to bring the industry together to determine what is the job of the tester, what needs to be done for training, what needs to be done for certification. And training and certification of lower door testing gets us to our end goal for ABBA, which is a high performance building envelope.
We were hoping that we could partner with an organization like ABBA to provide the skill set that we need to integrate into our workforce. Having a training program that people can get certified is something that I believe that the jurisdictions, the building departments are looking to for guidance.
I need to have a level playing field. And that's what training and certification brings you, is a level of professionalism. And what I will get from a test will be the same if it's done by Nancy or if it's done by Jill.
You know, what I'm trying to do is to learn not just the how to do it, but why. And that's what this class has been good for.
Folks that are going to take this airtightness testing course are building science consultants, anyone that's going to be performing an airtightness test on a building.
It really walks you through the whole process, the training, to start you from how do you get prepared to do a whole building test? What are the equipment you need? What is the steps that you need to prepare the building? And it really focuses on the actual test. So it runs you from the day you start thinking about doing the test until you write your final report and turn it in.
All right, so hopefully that provided a little bit of the flavor of the course and kind of what the expectations are. We had some really nice interviews from local individuals in the state of Washington and how it's going to help them. So now let's transition on to the certification side of things. So this is what the program that's just recently been launched is, how do I get certified in regards to being recognized for my knowledge, skills, and abilities. So the objective of us putting this together was really to create a standard, to create a level playing field, to create something that could be relied on in regards to identifying individuals that have the knowledge, skills, and abilities to do the testing on large buildings, right? So to start to build that infrastructure, to start to meet some of those industry demands as we start to see more and more jurisdictions requirement, more and more building owners require it, you know, specifications coming out, contract documents coming out that say they want to do this. So we're really just probably at that start of growing that industry. And now part of the problem is as we build up those requirements and codes and project specifications, well, if we don't have the people qualified to actually do the test, we can't really meet the intent of the code or the, you know, requirements coming up that you might have to be held to in regards to that. And from the owner side of things or the architect side of things, they want to be able to rely on something. They're not experts in whole building or tightness testing, so they want something that they can be comfortable with in regards to making sure that if they specify it, if they require it, that they have that comfort, they can sleep at night, that they do have someone that really knows what they're doing. And it doesn't matter if it's one individual or another, they're both meeting that same criteria in regards to having those knowledge, skills, and abilities. So if we take a look at the scope, we're really taking a look at someone that does everything, right? We kind of looked at the training, it's from A to Z. Well, the same thing with certification. Individuals that become certified have to know a whole lot of stuff and be able to prove that through different test instruments and requirements in regards to that. So think of the individual becoming certified, that they really can go from A to Z in regards to what the scope is. Now, for people coming in, there is some recommended knowledge and skills to come in. So usually you're looking for people that have some education and knowledge in things like building science, common building envelope assemblies, operation of mechanical systems, obviously working with blower door equipment, the software, problem solving, whole building Airtightness test experience. So this is meant for people that do have a good understanding and do have some of this knowledge and skills coming into the certification program. Now, if you've never done this before and if this is completely new, you probably need to spend a little bit of time, a little bit of investment in training, maybe getting some real life work experience with your employer before you're actually applying for that certification, right? So the certification is built, and we're going to take a look at 2 levels. We'll kind of have a level 1 and a level 2, but people coming in do have to have some knowledge and skills to be able to be comfortable. And obviously we want to set you up for success. So making sure that you understand, okay, here's what I really should know and be comfortable with before I apply for certification. So here's 2 levels, and we've kind of just broken up into foundational level 1 or expert level 2. You can use different terms, but in essence, we're just putting 2 levels. And for each of those 2 levels, we have different requirements. The other thing that we tried to do here, I guess a couple things that we tried to do. One, we want to provide a career path for someone that's maybe getting into it. And then secondly, we want to recognize those individuals that have really been doing it for quite some time, have invested in training, have proven their skills through practical or written tests. So it provides a bit of a career path for level 1 to kind of aspire to that level 2. And then as people are maybe more experienced, they can kind of apply directly to level 2. So let's go and break down what do these levels mean and get into some of the details. So for this level 1, there's 2 tracks, and really what you're going to notice the theme here is, did you take the ABA training or did you not take the ABA training? So as I had mentioned before in the training, ABA training is not required, but there is some training in regards to that. So if we take a look at track A, we're going to take some training, we're going to do a written exam. Kind of track B in the situation is we're not taking ABA training, but we do have some maybe training we've taken from the manufacturer, and we can provide some examples of test reports that we've done. So we kind of have that separate path there. So we've designed it for blower door technicians that have some experience. Maybe they've been doing mostly residential low rise. Maybe they just kind of started doing some large building testing, or maybe part of a team and maybe did one part of the test, whether it's building prep or maybe it's doing the report writing, whatever that case may be. So, here's the 2 ways to get it. It's, either those that have come in and done the ABA blower door training, or those that, have done some training with the manufacturers already and then have some experience in regards to actually doing some of the testing. So let's break this out. These are fairly straightforward, a little bit more to do with level 2 with the experts, but level 1 is fairly straightforward. So track A here, basically going to the ABA training course, and we're doing an online proctored exam of 200 questions, and it has an 80% passing rate. So it's really step 1, step 2, and you're certified. Now there's some paperwork you'll fill out. There'll be a licensing agreement to use the registered trademark of ABA and so forth, but really that is a very kind of simplified process to get certified. Now say you have taken manufacturer training or would prefer to do that. So now here's another path you have. So you can take that certificate from the training from the blower door. You're going to show us some 5 large blower door tests, and it can be based on a number of standards. So as I said before, 3158 is kind of, in my opinion, the best test method out there, but it can really be other test methods that are referenced in code too. And so you have that opportunity just to submit that. Now you're going to write the same exam. So it's still going to be that 200 question written exam. You're going to pass with an 80%. So really, if we break this down, it's you either took ABA training or you didn't. And if you didn't, here's the things that you need to do. So that kind of gives you a summary of level 1. Now, what do we actually test you on? Well, here's what we have come up for exam weighting. And you can see it really touches on a number of key points. Now, if you take a look at, well, what's the biggest part? If you take the conducting the blower door and the preparation for the blower door, that's about 50%, right? So a big chunk is preparation and actually doing the test. But then we'll have other things, right? So we'll have 5% building science, we'll have 13%, which is interpreting results, reasons for blower door testing at 9. So if someone's going to apply for this, this is saying, listen, this is what we're going to test you on. This is the percentages. So you could say, well, Ryan said a 200 question exam. I noticed 50% on doing the blower door test and the preparation of it. That's 50% of the exam. Okay, this is where I probably need to feel the most comfortable with. So we kind of let you know here are the types of questions or the subject matter that you're going to be writing. So what are some of the level 1 sample questions? Well, level 1 is primarily going to be a multiple choice exam. So we're trying to take out of any type of subjectivity. It's going to be a question with 4 potential answers. One of them will be correct. The 3 will not be correct, but they also won't be trick questions, right? They will be questions that if you have your knowledge, you should be able to identify the right one. And we'll have what we call 3 distractors, which are not so out of this world that you know it's not that one. So this is kind of what you would expect to see. So just kind of a sample, it's going to be multiple choice question with 4 possible answers and you pick the correct one. So what is the price for this? Well, we do have different pricing for either a member or non-member. So you apply for the certification, $495. So that's your exam. That's absolutely everything there. If you want the training manual, it isn't mandatory, but you can buy that, say, if you don't take the ABA training and would like to have something to maybe do more studying, to do some self-directed learning, there's an opportunity to that. And then there'll be an annual renewal fee. So again, a lot of this information is all going to be on the website, but this kind of gives you a sense of in regards to where this sits, which is pretty much comparable with the majority of certification programs out there. Okay, so let's shift into level 2. So level 2, we have a number of different tracks, but it's going to boil down to a couple key things. Again, did you take ABA blower door training or didn't? And then how you prove your competence. So we have these 4 tracks here, but it's really going to boil down to just a couple different things. And so let's go through those. So what did we design this? Well, people that have experience already, they've been doing it, and now they want to be recognized for it, right? So someone is very well qualified, they know how to do everything. This is now a way that they can be recognized at, right? So there really hasn't been a certification program in the US market that has really done this for whole building airtightness testing on large buildings. Again, it's been around for a while for single family homes, but it is quite a big difference of doing a 1-story 2,000 square foot home versus a 260,000 square foot school. So a big difference in regards to going from the smaller buildings to larger buildings. So we're looking at people that have been doing testing. If you go to the state of Washington, they've been doing testing for over 10 years, right? So you have individuals within that jurisdiction that will have quite a bit of experience. So rather than having someone go through all the requirements of level 1, they can kind of go directly to level 2 and be identified as more of the experts. Kind of like thermography. So if you think about thermography has different levels. So we kind of use that same type of approach to here, where again, we're providing different paths for individuals to come in and different paths for ways to go from a level 1 to level 2. So let's look at the level 2 track A requirements. So Track A and track B are basically saying you have gone to the ABA training course. So we're going to go to the course. You're going to write an exam 2. Now, if you are level 1 already, you're going to write a 50 question exam. If you're going directly to level 2, you're going to write a 250 question exam. What makes up that 250? Well, it's really the level 1 plus a level 2, right? So it's just basically 2 different exams that you're going to write at the same time, or honestly, you could even do them separately. So let's say you're level 1 already, then you would come in and write a 50 question exam. If you're going directly to level 2, then you'd be writing a 250 question exam. Same type of thing, we have that 80% passing rate. Now here's where some of the differences are going to come in. So we've taken some training, we've proven our knowledge through the written exam. Now we have to prove our competence, and there's 2 ways that we're going to do it. Option 1 is doing a practical exam. So this would be where we come, we have someone, let's say I'm the proctor, and I watch you do everything from A to Z in regards to doing a whole building airtightness test, and we would mark you on it, right? We'd mark you just like you would get marked on a written exam. So maybe you haven't been doing it as long, or maybe you don't have the requirements for the other track that you have to submit a number of test reports. Well, now we've provided an option for you, right? So a lot of this is going, let's provide as many options as we can to individuals so we give more opportunities for people to become certified. So take training, you're going to do a written exam, and then you would do a practical exam. And I'll talk a little bit more about what is the practical exam and how it's conducted. So track B, here's the only difference, okay? So everything's the same. So I go in, here's track A, we're doing the practical. Track B, now we're not doing the practical, and we're submitting documentation showing 15 large building tests based on a number of different standards within a certain amount of years and a minimum enclosure area. So say you've been doing whole building airtightness testing on large buildings for 10 years, you've probably done 15 large building tests, you would simply submit it to us. We go and we do a review of it, and we want to confirm, the report writing is meeting what the requirements of that specific standard were. So again, here now you're not doing the practical, you're simply submitting documentation showing that you've done some of this testing, and we have the ability to assess it. Okay, so let's keep going. So now we're in the track where we're not taking ABA training. We're like, hey, we took training from a blower dryer manufacturer a number of years ago, we're good. So here, we're not going to take the ABA course. You're just going to give us a copy of your certificate. You're going to do the submission of documentation showing those tests. You're going to do the exam, whether it's the 250 or 50, depending on if you're level 1 already or not. And then track D, the only change here is the fact that we're going from submitting documentation to doing the practical exam. Okay, so only difference still, if we flip back and forth between these, so manufacturer certificate, the same for both, the exam, the same for both, and the difference is you're either doing a practical or simply submitting documentation. So a lot of this boils down to kind of 3 things, right? It's going to be training, it's going to be a written exam, and then it's going to be providing proving competence. So if we really take all these tracks and the spider web of things, it's really what it's boiling down: training, written exam, proving competence, and you prove competence either through a practical exam or submitting documentation. So the level 2 written exam, the exam weighting is going to be similar to level 1, but it's more advanced, right? So now we're getting into, say, more tough questions. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, in regards to a lot of the same things, right? So we got conducting a blower door test. Well, that's 35%, but now we're asking just maybe harder questions. The other thing that we're doing in the level 2 is it goes from a knowledge base to maybe some skills. So now it's like, hey, let's do something, and I gotta, maybe say determine the airtightness boundary on this drawing. So those are the types of questions that you're going to get into level 2, a little bit more complex than level 1. So here's an example, right? So based on a set of architectural plans, identify the total enclosure area. So now we have a set of plans in front of us. We're going, okay, what's the total enclosure area? So it's not necessarily knowledge based. We actually need some skills to do some of that. So these are just some of the sample level 2 questions. Now I want to talk a little bit about the practical evaluation. And as I kind of touched on lightly before, it's doing a test on a actual large building. So we've primarily, just in the state of Washington, been working with South Seattle Community College to be able to use one of their buildings for the purpose of the practical examination. So I would be the proctor. Let's say I'm doing a proctor on student number 1. I'm going to sit there and watch him basically without saying anything, just observing him go through everything. So there's an actual form that's going to be filled out. Again, it's meant to not be subjective, and it's simply a yes or no or not applicable, right? So we're going to walk someone through going, determine this, come up with your test plan, set up the equipment, do this, do the actual tests, doing the building preparation, and then write the report, right? So now we're actually visually seeing someone that knows how to do it, and they've proven that through this practical evaluation. So a little bit more, it's a 6-hour time limit. It takes place in an ABA approved and tested building. So prior to doing this, what we're looking at doing is setting up a number of buildings close to where the training areas are, that they've been kind of vetted, that they've been tested, that it is a building that we know is going to be fair and applicable to all. So one isn't crazy complex and the other is maybe too simple. So we're trying to create a bit of a standard of what type of building. And the candidate gets to choose what test standard they want to do and what equipment they can use. So again, there are options for the candidate if they're more, I guess, familiar with one test standard and X manufacturer's equipment. That's what they can use. So it's completely up to the student or candidate that's going through, and it's going to be an 80% passing rate. So that 80% is pretty much across the board in regards to written exam and the practical exam. So what's the price for certification? Well, it's a little bump up from level 1 just because of that extra work with the practical and the documentation review and so forth. So we do have member pricing and non-member pricing. It's a difference about almost the cost of membership. If you're an associate in the training manual, annual fee is really the exact same. So as I had mentioned before, what does this really boil down to? And I like this approach of here's just this 3 steps. So let's take a look at level 2. We're doing training, we're doing a written exam, and we're just demonstrating our proficiency. It's just at the training part or demonstrate proficiency part that we have options, but it still boils down to training, written exam, demonstrate proficiency. So this is my 3-step approach to it to make just all those other tracks and things really make sense if we want to boil it down to what do I need to do to actually get certified. So where are all the details? Well, we have what we call a candidate handbook. Now, the candidate handbook is meant to provide really everything you need to know in regards to becoming certified, what we're going to be testing you in, how to maintain your certification, how to get recertified, information about the practical evaluation, and even samples of what a test report could be. So this is meant to be one document that really walks you through everything that you need to know in regards to what do I need to do to become certified and what should I know or have knowledge and skills in order to be successful in getting certification. So these are one of the handouts. In the handout section and go to webinar, you can see handouts 2 out of 5. This is going to be one of them. The second place you're going to go is this is on our ABA website. So this is really the one document that you'd want to review right off the bat that gets into more details and more specifics in regards to the certification process versus kind of the quick overview that I've done to kind of explain the path and the different levels we have. Now, if you're going to do some studying outside of the training, whether you're a manufacturer or the AVA course, there are other study resources that we provide. So obviously there's the training manual. We have live webinars and on-demand webinars on whole building airtightness testing. These are free things for you to do. And we also have a number of newsletters, trade articles, things on our website that will just help and build what you need to know in regards to this. What would be other things? Well, obviously having copies of the test standards themselves, right? 3158, ASTM 779, whatever those test standards would be, those would also be things that you'd want to have in regards to understanding those test standards, because we will be testing you on all of those. So even though there's the training aspect of it, there are some self-study things that you can do in regards to preparing. So we're trying to provide different things throughout the year. We're going to continue to work on this because, again, we want to make sure that you are successful. So let's talk a little bit about the online proctored exam. So it is online, it isn't a paper exam. This is all done online. You have a 4-hour time limit. Now that doesn't mean it's going to actually take you 4 hours. That's just the time limits you have, where maybe it's going to take a couple hours, depending on what your level of expertise is, the amount of knowledge you have, how much time you've prepared, and so forth. So it is monitored through a webcam, and we've partnered with a company called Integrity Advocate, and they've given a lot of solutions in regards to when you can write your exam. So you don't have to book ahead. You could do it Sunday at 10 p.m. You could do it during the Christmas holidays. You can do it whenever you feel like it. So it's meant to really reduce the barriers of going, oh, I gotta pick a time, and oh, something happens and I can't do it, and now I'm rescheduling. You could literally do it throughout. And there's going to be some things, obviously, they're going to check, right? There's going to be some personal ID. They're going to be monitoring you through, your webcam and so forth. But this has really worked out fairly well in regards to being easy for our candidates to go through. And here's kind of the timeline. Well, I'm going to spend a little bit of time logging in, reading the instructions, like how to write the exam and some of those things, setting up with the proctoring company that we use. So, they're going to check your webcam, look at your ID, all that sort of stuff. So that's fairly straightforward. And then you get into actually writing the exam. So you probably want to put aside a good morning or afternoon to do it. But it has been a fairly seamless process. We do use it for the certified air barrier specialist, along with the installer certification programs. So what are the steps? Well, we're going to go number 1, we're going to find out information of it. Number 2, we're going to read all the requirements of it. Number 3, that we're going to register for it. And again, everything's online. And then number 4, we're going to be able to start writing our exam. So it's fairly straightforward in regards to the process. Find out more information, register for the program, and then you'll be into the system. AVA uses a learning management system to house our exams. So you will be setting up a portal for yourself that you'll be able to access your exam marks. That's the place where you can upload things, handle your recertification. So everything's going to be handled through a learning management system. And once you're done, you're certified, right? So you'll get this plaque, you'll get digital certificates. This will help recognize you in regards to achieving that level, and then you can use it for promotion. Now, one hot off the press thing that I think is really cool. So this is a state of Washington code requirement for whole building airtightness individuals that will be doing the testing. And so I want to just bring the note to the very bottom and kind of put some red marks around it, but it says, individual performing the air leakage test shall be trained and certified by a certification body that is, at the time of permit application, an ISO 17024 accredited certification body, including but not limited to the Air Barrier Association of America. So we are super excited that the state of Washington code did recognize all the work that we put into creating this certification program and is actually now a code requirement. Now, that's just the state of Washington. Now, if we go outside some other jurisdictions, there will be building owners and project specifications put out with this credential becoming a requirement. So we see this as a pre-qualification coming out in either Division 1 specification or wherever the whole building airtightness testing resides, that you'll now start to see some of these things in regards to those projects having a requirement for someone that is certified by an accredited body and obviously the Air Barrier Association of America. So this was really neat. This was sort of the first code reference we had for the ABA certification program. So we have one for certified air barrier specialists, auditors, installers, and et cetera. And this is the first one that's kind of recognized in the state of Washington. So we really see a demand coming down the pipe in regards to requirements for people to be trained and certified to give that level playing field and to ensure everyone's meeting a high standard and being able to do the test as we continue to get more and more down the code cycle and more down, kind of getting to that ultimate net zero where airtightness of the building becomes a huge part of a building becoming net zero. So we're really excited about this. And for those that are getting certified specifically in that state of Washington, you'll be able to show, hey, I do meet the code requirements, here's my certificate. Or if you're in other jurisdictions or maybe working for other building owners, again, you'll be able to provide this credential to them. So that was just something really neat that just hot off the press and wanted to share that with everyone. So as we're winding down here, and before we get into questions, just another kind of reminder here, so you can download the presentation right now. If you don't or have missed it or having issues, you can just let us know. And we are recording this presentation, so we're going to post that to our YouTube channel. And that way, if there's maybe something that you want to go through again or reference it again, or maybe share it with someone else within your firm, you can kind of pass along the video that will be on our YouTube channel. We just need a little bit of time to get it up there, but it should be up in the next little while. So that is the end of the presentation. I'm going to get into questions that we have, but if you are looking, you can go to the website today. It's airbarrier.org. If you go to the main website, you'll see programs, but this is the direct link that takes you to the whole building airtightness overview. I've put my contact information here in regards to my email, so you can contact me at any time. So let's go and take a look at some of the questions that have come in. We'll try to get through as many as we can. We're just about at our time. So if people do have questions that we're just not able to get through today, we'll make sure that we come and contact you directly in regards to that. We're also building a library of frequently asked questions. And in that way too, we can make sure that we're answering all those questions that are coming in. So let's go take a look and just see what has come in. So the first question says, is this training geared towards individuals with little to no practical testing experience or more towards experienced technicians looking to expand their knowledge? So this comes from Karen. So Karen, I would say that it's really kind of for both. Now, if you are new into it, obviously you're gonna get a lot out of it. If you're experienced, it is going to help reinforce some of the, maybe knowledge you have, but also get you into new things, right? So maybe you've only been doing a certain test standard or using a certain manufacturer's blower door equipment. Well, now you're going to be exposed to other test standards, other blower door equipment, and so forth. So it's really designed for anyone and everyone, and they're all going to get value. Another question here comes up, after 5-year certification period has expired, will there be a recertification progress? Absolutely. So Jennifer brings this question here. There will be a recertification process that is going to be articulated in that handbook that is available for download. It's a combination of a couple different things. So each year you kind of have some continuing education requirements, which is fairly, pretty much the same as most certification programs out there, if there is, a certain amount of things. So it is 5 years. You would have some requirements to show a certain amount of continuing education requirements. You would submit maybe a couple testing reports that you have, and then there's a requirement for some training. Now, if you're thinking, oh, I got to go back to a 5-day course, it ends up being a little bit more of a refresher after 5 years, probably web-based, so we're not having you travel around anywhere, and just going really through updates. So that might be an hour, that might be 3 hours, it might be a day or whatever, but it's continuing education, showing some continued competence with submitting test reports. And then number 3, a short course if there are changes within the industry. If not, it will just be some simple updates. Okay, another one here. It says, I'm concerned that the only blower door tests considered for compliance are 50,000 square feet. 87% of multifamily buildings are smaller than that. Can this be reconsidered? Well, absolutely. We can always take a look at that. That's why we've done sort of the practical evaluation approach. That's someone that maybe hasn't done that large of buildings or maybe hasn't done enough of those buildings. They do have options that they don't have to take that certification pass. So we tried to make sure that, it does kind of provide different options that someone isn't kind of forced to go through some way. It's more of going, okay, I have different options. Maybe I've only done multifamily. Okay, well, I'll take the practical exam approach, and that's how I can approve my competence. As an ISO 9000 or ISO 17024 program, it's always going to be updated. It's always going to be validated. So these are things that will always be considered in regards to maybe, okay, do we change some of the requirements or maybe provide a different option for individuals? So Daniel says the member portal checkout defaults to non-member pricing when I select the company from the dropdown. Daniel, let me take a look at that because it should auto-populate with the member pricing. So if you do go to register, it's linked to our membership database. So you type in your company and you pick it out a drop-down list, and it should automatically default to the member pricing, and if not, then it defaults to the non-member pricing. So Daniel, we'll take a look at that for you and see if there's maybe just a glitch happening there, and then I can get back to you on that. Okay, so let's just continue to go down here for any questions. I'm not seeing any more, but I'll maybe leave it just open here for another couple minutes. We do have about 2 minutes left before we're going to sign off on here. So we'll just see if anything comes in. If not, you have my contact information, you have my email. Feel free to reach out to us directly. It is a new program. It's just launching. It is quite different than a lot of other certification programs in the fact that we do have so many paths, because we really wanted to not put a lot of barriers in place and provide different options that people can be recognized for their knowledge, skills, and abilities, and aren't kind of put into a box that they're unable to read a credential that they really, could earn if we provided more options. So it is kind of the way that we've designed it. As part of moving forward, we will be providing some more informational webinars here. So if you do have questions, just feel to reach out to me. Okay, I don't see any more questions coming in at this time. So I want to just thank everyone for attending today. We really appreciate you coming on to the presentation. Please let us know. We're super excited to be launching this. This was a tremendous amount of work that went into it, years of curriculum development, years of developing the certification program. So it's nice to see this come to fruition, and we'll get this out into the market and start to build a little bit more infrastructure for everyone. So other than that, everyone have a great day. Thanks again for attending today. Feel free to reach out to us, and we're very excited to see our first certified individuals coming out in 2023. Have a great day, everyone. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.